Shalom, all praise to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushai, Hashem, Arakam, Kadash. Don't want to see apostles and elders, great most on the world well. Shalom to the brothers, doing more shipping truth, pushing his word to the four corners. Just got a news article here which kind of goes into where, where Esau, where his elites are basically looking to push a lot of their science in regards to, chasing immortality, because that's been something that's been desired, for decades, really for centuries. It's something that people have been yearning after, and now is a time when, as far as Esau, with the wisdom that's been granted him, he, as far as he sees it, is on the cusp of it. It's a step away, a stone's throw away from trying to accomplish this. And there's various means by which they're looking to do it, but all of them they integrate with technology, man. And that basically goes into the the vision, the idea of the future. That kind of ties in with like cyberpunk, with a lot of like science fiction, where mankind and humanity and computers can merge, to some level, and that lines up with the mark, with the charagma. So I got this on the Washington Post. It says technology promises to change the meaning of death, at least for some. And this is trying to adjust, rewrite the meaning of death is because why they're trying to have control over it to where if they drop dead, then they'll be able to take some form of action to reverse it or to prolong it, or try and mess with it. Because why? This is mainly it's because why? Because Esau's carnal, as far as to him, within the realms of the physical. That's the only place where you can basically bring these bring his hopes and desires to pass. He's you go into Wisdom of Solomon 2, then we're going to what? How with Esau, he basically sees in the grave there's nothing you can do to kind of go beyond that. Once you've died, then it's a wrap. Everything ceases to be. But then what? You know the truth. But you know what? After death comes what? The judgment. And anyway, you go up into the spiritual realm, and you got a spiritual body up there, and then you basically get put back in a cycle. But these are the things that as far as Esau, the whole spiritual side, he's thrown it in the bin. So that's what when artificial kidneys were first used as a medical tool in 1945, it became unnervingly clear that human organs, until then essential to the human makeup, were replaceable. Soon after, hearts, once thought to be the linchpin of humanity, were quickly substituted by external devices, supplanting the inexplicable complexity of human muscle with far simpler synthetic parts. This month, a team of Yale scientists partially revived the cellular function of pigs a full hour after the animal's brains and cardiac waves had flatlined. With the help of their Organ XEX system, they restored some cellular activity in the pig's hearts and livers, and most meaningful to bioethical discussions in brains. Though the pigs did not regain consciousness, the Yale researchers demonstrated that vital organs may remain treatable for longer than most scientists have suspected. While this finding doesn't yet have clinical applications, it may soon offer a new challenge to medical claims about where life ends and begins. So, it's basically, trying to find some means to skirt around, having to drop dead. And it's then going into the definitions of, what it means to be alive, what it means to be dead. Because as far as Esau, he's basically trying to overcome those hurdles. I'll read this before I get back to it. Psalm 68 and Psalm 68:20 says, "He that is our power is a power of salvation, and unto Yahweh, the Lord, belong the issues from death." So as far as for what issues of death, those are things that are in the hands of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And what Esau's trying to fumble with is something that's beyond it. Because it's what they're trying to imply, because they'll go into it further down, is, if they can restore brain function, then it's like, okay, you're bringing someone back. But these are already things that Yahweh Hashem Yahushai has, shown previously, man. And it's essentially trying to have a miracle through his carnal means. Trying to have it where, someone's passed, but then he'll be able to utilize his wisdom to then bring them back. And that's a big part of Esau's identity. He's basically trying to substitute himself for Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and then what the technology is a supplement. It's kind of a gap between them. So it says, skipping down a little bit, it says, unto the middle of the 20th century, a patient could be pronounced dead without debate if her heart stopped and her lungs ceased to function. But now, ventilators and defibrillators meant that checking for rising, falling, or fluttering chest was no longer a valid way to diagnose death. In the late 1960s, physicians who were concerned about the viability of transplantable organs proposed a new metric for thinking about our mortality. One focused on brain death rather than the functioning of other organs. Their approach soon took hold, and when today's physicians record the patient's time of death, they mean the moment when medical devices could no longer register or restore consciousness. And you had a news story over here in the UK where there was a kid. What the hell was this kid's name, man? It was like 12. Let me double check. Because he basically was, I think he had an accident at home. He smashed his head on something, and then he's been in a coma for like months. And then the parents basically had him on life support. Then it was like the parents are basically trying to say like, yo, they want to keep him alive, but then I believe the courts in the UK said like, nah, pronounced him dead, switch off the machines. They took it to the European court. The European court threw out as well, and just said he's done. Because why? It was like there was no brain function. So it's funny because it's something that's been recent in the news. Let me get this guy's name, man.
Oh yeah, no. When it was first built, the reflection.
The name was Archie Battersby. So you had that whole discussion because he's basically, they don't even know what the fuck happened to him. They said he might have tried like some TikTok trend and then bust his head and like he was gone from then. And it was like the parents were fully fighting for, weeks on end, but they threw it out. Because essentially like there's no chance of him coming back. So but then what was it? Okay. Let me skip down a little bit more. So it says what? With the successful revival of some brain and cardiac cellular activity in mammals, the day when medical technologies will again force us to update our definition of human death looms slightly closer. The promise is at once thrilling and terrifying. If we can extrapolate on the potential of the Yale team's organ-X system, we may eventually be capable of reviving silent brains and restarting organs that once would have been considered irreversibly dead. As it turns out, irreversibly dead is not a neat pleonasm. Not sure what that means. says in just a few decades, we may be forced to acknowledge that death isn't a biological absolute so much as an administrative process. So they're trying to achieve what? They're trying to make it so that they're having control whether, bringing someone back or not. That's something that they can accomplish. And these are the things that a lot of these technologies, especially when it comes to interfacing with AI, interfacing with technology, inputting all these different kind of devices in the body, they're trying to make it so that they can what? Conquer death. We read this, Deuteronomy 32, 39. It says, "See now that I, even I, am He, and there is no power with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand." So again, these are the things that belong to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. What Esau's trying to do is what? Is trying to usurp that position. And that's the thing, is because I think they it's like even reviving someone from drowning. That's like resuscitation, they call it. There's a variety of forms where someone, they'll be passed for a while, then they'll come back. But Esau's trying to have it so it's like, anything, any kind of, ailment, then what? They'll be able to bring you back. And, bro, that shit just don't run. There was another thing I wanted to get with. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So it says, death certificates might indicate that the deceased family couldn't afford to reboot their loved one. So that's going into that science fiction realm where it'd be like, you might, the only reason someone will die is because you run out of money. And these are the things that the elites dream of. Because why? They have the dominion. They have, they hold sway over the wealth of the world. And when we're dealing with wealth, we're dealing with the true wealth. Land, precious metals, cattle, these different things. These are the things that they hold sway over. So all these things, they'll basically have access to. But just like now, it's like in America, what's that thing called, man, for diabetes? Insulin. Over here in the UK, I think it costs like 25 or 35 pounds, to get your insulin shots. But then in the US, you're paying thousands. So these things, what? It's the dream is to monetize it. So this is what? Okay. So couldn't afford to reboot their loved ones or to preserve their body long enough to let such technology take hold. With advancements in cryonics and emerging technologies such as Organ EX, this is no longer just a science fiction hypothetical, but a reality conceivable within our century. And that's the other thing as well, is Esau's really out here believing these things. He's just given enough time, we'll be able to achieve it. It's the same thing with like Neuralink with these different, going into the Coragma, where it's what? Being able to download AIs into your brain, being able to have, computer, you have Google in your brain. So you might think about something, then, you're going to get a list of results, in your mind. You might just think about some facts, and then that would just pop in your head, trying to have spiritual power through carnal means. That's really all Esau's trying to achieve. But again, these things are beyond it. Says what? The distinction between life and death, in other words, might become a more painful sort of moral judgment, a matter of who can afford to keep a body functioning. In such a future, health inequities could be exacerbated. The wealthy could repeatedly forestall their death, while those least well off would be forced to accept an indeed irreversible cessation of bodily function. But this is really the dream. Esau to be able to have control over it. Because in that case, it would be something like in time, where you essentially can live forever, but then it comes down to it's a resource. Or they're basically having you run a hamster wheel to keep the society running. But you know they've got all the time in the world. But hey, that's this is what in deep in Esau's soul, these elites are trying to achieve. Again, 2 Thessalonians 2:3 it says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he as the Most High sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High." That's really what Esau's these things he's trying to achieve, these technologies he's developing, the aims that he's looking for. He's basically trying to bring what? The realm of things that Yahweh Hashem Yahushai has in his hands. He's trying to take them for himself. But again, what he's trying to find, trying to create is a pale imitation. Because as far as for when we're dealing with eternal life, there's a way it's going to be achieved. First Corinthians 15 and 51. "Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In the moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed." So what did it say? The issues of death belong to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. The issues of death belong to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. That's why it's like raising the dead. That's nothing. That's been done before. That's light work as far as Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is concerned. Conquering death, that's easy. But then there's a pathway, there's a channel to it. Esau's trying to come up his own way. This guy's crawling up through, he's climbing through the sewers, trying to accomplish it. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, "Death is swallowed up in victory." O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is in the law. So yeah, even the way death came in is what? Through Eve. Through her we all die. And then what? The sting of sin is death. That's the thing, is these guys are all living completely sinful lives, doing all kinds of madness, being completely whacked out criminals, breaking every law. Then they're going to try and attain immortality. Something that's a reward for something particular. Read this, John 17 and 1. It says, "These words spake Yahushua, and lifted up his eyes to heaven, and said, Father, the hour is come, glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee, as thou hast given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to as many as thou hast given him. And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true power, and Yahushua HaMashiach, whom thou hast sent." So yeah, the means to that is very particular. You got to go through Yahushua. That's how this is going to be gained. But then what's Esau? Esau's channel is what? You go through him. You go through the left-hand side. He's trying to achieve, you chop up your body, you replace your heart with someone else's heart. You're going to have all kinds of different experimental technology being zap. There's people that still get their ass frozen, man. And it's like, even when you get frozen, I'm like, bro, you're dead, bro. It's just a body that's cold. They said like they can't even unfreeze, because when the cells expand when you unfreeze, the guy will just drop dead. So it's like, what the hell even was the point? But they said, oh, someone might overcome that hurdle down the line. But this is what the mindset of how people are now. They're looking by any means necessary to attain some form of immortality. But hey, that's something that's reserved for what? For the elect. For those that come through what? Yahweh Shai. That's the channel you gotta go through. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom.